Well, hello and thank you for joining me for another Alex on Tech and ITY TV video interview. Today, I'm speaking with Wendy Wu. She's the Chief Marketing Officer at SailPoint, the enterprise security company managing and securing human and digital identities, and so much more. Wendy, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much, Alex, for having me here.
Thank you for taking the time. Now, Wendy, you gave a detailed keynote at the annual SailPoint Navigate conference where you presented key findings from your Horizon of Identity Security study conducted with McKinsey. Now, before we get to your keynote and that study, which I think you also gave a version of at the SailPoint Navigate that we're here at in Sydney, can you please tell us about SailPoint's mission and vision for the rest of 2025 and beyond?
Yeah, SailPoint is the leader in the identity security space. We help enterprise manage and secure the access to all of their critical application and data and through the lens of identity. And we help them achieve this at the enterprise speed and also at the enterprise scale.
So your keynote went through your latest Horizons report, and it obviously did so in depth. Now, there are 4 top headline findings, so can we please start by explaining what they unveiled, given identity security has become mission critical for the modern enterprise. I mean, I hear about it all over the place. And given SailPoint's president, Matt Mills, said the report indicates that identity has become the top ROI generator in the security stack, helping enterprises cut costs, reduce risk, and accelerate growth.
So here are some of the key takeaways. Number 1 is identity security is really presenting the highest ROI across all investment in the security domain. Our data shows that 30% organizations we surveyed rank identity access management as the area with the highest ROI when you compare to all of the other security functions such as data security, network security, or cloud security. So 30% of organizations rate us higher, and that's more than double any other domains. So identity security has really emerged itself from being a cost center in the past now to be a revenue driven engine to drive the success in the enterprise. That's takeaway number 1. Mm-hmm. Takeaway number 2 is, unfortunately, the industry, the enterprise landscape, most of the companies and organizations are still in the very early stage of their identity security journey. 63% of the organizations are either on Horizon 1 or Horizon 2 on a scale of Horizon 1 all the way up to Horizon 5. So you can see vast majority are still just in the beginning stage. But this also presents lots of opportunities, right? For the companies who have moved on to Horizon 3, 4, 5, they're seeing much higher return on investment. They're able to automate their workflows much faster with all the AI capabilities embedded, and they're managing digital identities such as the agentic AI or machine identities so that they can protect themselves in a much more robust way. Takeaway number 3 is, while we see 6% of the industry have moved forward into higher horizons, 4% of the industry has actually slipped back. Yes, they moved backwards. How is that even possible, right? This has never happened in the past 3 years when we did the same study. This is the 4th year that we did Horizon. And what we realized is the only reason why those companies moved backward is because we raised the bar for the qualification to achieve Horizon 4 and beyond. You know, given all of the dynamics in our industry, the emergence of AI, the agentic AI and the AI agents, and the implication brought on by these digital identities, the landscape is not static anymore. We need to evolve our identity security practice to manage these latest threat factors, right, introduced by these agents. So if you're not able to manage your AI agents, you cannot qualify for Horizon number 4 anymore, unfortunately, right? And there are other new capabilities required to be at Horizon 4 or beyond, such as you have to have a unified data model. You have to embed real-time access management in order to really achieve the most robust capabilities. So with that, the organizations who had achieved Horizon 4, if they don't manifest these new capabilities, I'm sorry, you're moving backwards. And the fourth one is all about deployments. We've heard loud and clear from our customers that deployments are very, very hard. Our data shows that only 14% of the organizations call their last deployment a complete success. Only 14%. Only 48% of the companies we surveyed said they come in under budget, meaning to say vast majority of company, they went above what they were supposed to spend. So how to manage your deployment in a successful is super critical.
Okay, so let's go to the report's findings in more depth and detail. I mean, that was pretty good, a bit of detail there, explaining the various levels of horizons and how companies have gone back. And I mean, if we think about it, the AI revolution as we know it is just barely 36 months old. ChatGPT came out in 2022, and now we're talking about AI agents, which, like in the movies, like robots want to become human. And here we are, we're treating AI agents with like human levels of control, which is fascinating to see. But given that identity is the growth engine, there's convergence of identity, security, and data. So how has identity security grown from a cost center to a revenue enabler, as you were mentioning before?
Yeah, so first to think about all of the cost reduction identity security can help you bring. You can now see unused access, right? You can reduce these licenses for you can reduce the license paying for these accounts that actually are not being used. Mm-hmm. You can also automate a lot of manual work that used to be handled by human beings. Right now, you can use automation and workflow to handle those very repetitive routine tasks. Now, it's not just about cost reduction. It also allow you to drive a lot of revenue generation. That is when you accelerate time to access. For example, when you hire a new employee, instead of the person sitting around waiting for 2 or 3 days for their laptop to be prepared with all the access, what if that access is provisioned right away, that from day one, the first hour, they can access the right amount of information, right? That is productivity. What if your product development team, they can have access to the code they need. They can develop things much faster that allow you to bring the products to market much faster. That is, the time to access. Actually, when you accelerate that, you accelerate time to value. This is about revenue generation for your business.
So what is the current maturity landscape like, given the proliferation of AI tools, agentic AI bots, and so much hype in this space? I mean, it's not just about security for humans anymore. It's security for the entire organization, from ensuring that identity is sorted out first. Otherwise, everything else can be compromised by bad actors.
Yeah, so that is super critical, that this new dynamics in the market, while everyone's trying to figure out how do I onboard agents in my environment so that we can have lots of digital twins to do the work we need, right? Mm. But it also opened up the attack surface for the enterprise. How do we make sure these agents are only accessing the right information they're supposed to access? And at the same time, the agents' owners are not getting overprivileged access just through the agents, same agents that might be used by other people, right? This is a super critical problem that we need to tackle as across the entire industry. And this is where agent identity security comes into play big time. You can, with the right technology, right, that you will be able to discover what are the agents in your environment. And not only that, you will be able to certify these agents. Are they having the right access at the right time? And then further beyond that, you can make sure the agents are accessing the right data at a very fine-grained level with the right entitlements, right? So that the agents are not completely going rogue, out of control, without human supervision or without the right access controls.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard about people hacking AI bots. AI wants to be very helpful. So you've got to put these controls on. Otherwise, you've got something that someone set up for marketing 3 months ago, and it's just sitting on the network, giving all this information out, and no one knows about it. So
exactly,
yeah.
It's just like using a race car analogy, right? You cannot have a race car without the brakes. And in this case, the AI security agent is the brake to put in place, make sure your race car can run safely. Yeah. In that case.
So there were 3 big takeaways from the Horizon study. Can you please tell us about those?
Here are the three key takeaways. Number one is all about AI agents, right? So the companies who are able to manage the AI agents, they're the one moving forward. For the ones who don't, even if they're really mastering their traditional identity capabilities, technologies, they're not going to be able to catch up. And we see this gap between those that do and versus those who don't is becoming bigger. And this is what we call the great divide. It's widening every minute as we speak. The second key takeaway is really about deployments. And the way that you deploy, it's very, very critical, dependent upon the approach you take. Do you have a very robust data hygiene? We've seen from so many deployments that if you don't start with some very clean data, you're not going to be able to be successful. And the companies who deploy the best deployment and the companies who deploy those best practices, they're 1.6 times more likely to be successful. And it's just not about the technology feature function checklist. It's about the approach you take. And are you really putting the best practice in place? Are you having visibility of all the applications? Are you figuring out what are the right applications you need to put under compliance, under governance? And then you take it a very methodological approach then to ensure that you're going to have the long-term success. The third key takeaway is all about how do you quantify the business impact of identity security, right? And we see companies, those who are able to be very analytical and to show the impact of identity security investment, they're the ones who's able to make more, they're able to make a robust business case, and they're able to get more funding to support their programs and grow their practice. So that identity security is not just being shown as, hey, this is a control center or this is a cost center, right? It's becoming a business enabler for them. It's a digital transformation accelerator for these businesses.
So Wendy, it's been fascinating to hear some of the latest information about the study and some of the findings, but tell us about the Horizons of Security study. When did you start it? What was the impetus behind creating it, and what have some of the customer success stories been in that time?
Yeah, so absolutely. What got us to embark on this journey was I was sitting at a customer advisory board meeting back in 2022. And the customer executives were all saying, like, we don't have good benchmark stats. We don't have a framework that can show the impact our identity security programs are actually contributing to the success of our business. So what do you guys have at SailPoint that can help us with that need so that we can make the better business case and get more funding and get the support we need to grow our programs? So that ask from our customers gave us the idea, actually, why don't we build this benchmark for the whole industry? So we embarked on this journey together with McKinsey, who has been a partner, knowledge partner for SailPoint for many years. They know our space really well. So we started Horizon 1.0 back then. And what we did in the first edition was to map out the entire maturity of the whole industry. We looked at companies' practice through the lens of 4 aspects. Do you have a strategy framework for your identity security practice? Do you have the technology capabilities put in place? Do you have the operating rigor? And do you have the talent to support your needs? So based on how companies respond to these questions across those 4 domains, we map out where they fall on the horizons, from Horizon 1, the very basic, all the way to Horizon 5, the most advanced capabilities. And we plotted out all companies we surveyed. And that's where all of our charts that you might have seen in today's presentation came from. So over the years, we repeated the study, but not just with the same questionnaire every single year. Each year we went a little bit deeper and we took on some different perspectives. Right. In year 2, we took a deep dive into the technical capabilities, mapping out entirely from Horizon 1 to Horizon 5. What are the required capabilities you need? In Horizon 3, we looked into the economic impact of the identity security maturity, comparing companies achieving Horizon 4 and 5 with those who are just starting their journey at Horizon 1 or 2. And what we came away with was this bend the curve theory. The curve is the identity security investment ROI. What's bending the curve is the higher horizons you go, the way higher ROI you are seeing proportionally as compared to those that are just at horizon 1 or 2. So with those 3 years behind us, now comes the 4th year, which was this year's study, right? And obviously, we recognize the big shift in the industry, the emergence of the agents, and all of the merging, the merge of the traditional swim lanes in our space. So that's why we took on this new study with the angle of how should we be thinking about the agents? How should we thinking about the new privileged access through the lens of just-in-time needs or real-time access needs? And what is the integration across data, identity, and security, this trifecta, what we call. In addition to that, we also want to address the big question about how can we be successful through the deployment, because nothing happens until a very successful deployment is in place. So that's what we came away with in this year's study. One thing I will call out is while SailPoint is the sponsor of the study, we really want the study to be useful to the whole industry. While we can be biased, right, as SailPoint, obviously, but the data really speak for itself. It's representing the landscape across the whole industry. And we want our customers to be able to have something very credible and, it's very authentic, right? It's reflecting the inputs from 300 plus identity leaders we surveyed every year. It's their viewpoint of the industry and where the industry is going, right? So hopefully this can be a value add to not just our own customers, but it's really for the whole identity security industry.
Sure. And this time next year, I mean, AI agents will be even more sophisticated and powerful than we have today. Any thoughts on what SailPoint study version 5 might be looking at, or is it all top secret still?
That is really hard to say. This one was just a shift recently. So I will say, give us some time. We'll come back with an answer on that.
Sure. And before I ask you a couple of personal questions about your technology life, is there anything else about the report that we should know?
Yeah, absolutely. I will encourage everyone to check out our website, SailPoint.com. And if you just look up Horizons of Identity Security, right, you should get a link to not just the report, but it also comes with a very simple survey with only 6 questions. You can literally handle that in 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes. It's going to spit out your results, give you a preliminary view about how your practice is falling on the maturity model. And then our SailPoint expert will be able to guide you through the interpretation of the data and give you some advice on where you should get started or move. What's your next step to move to the more advanced horizons? So I would say it's a very useful tool, and I encourage everyone to check it out.
So my third last question is to ask if you could please share a memory of your first personal computer.
Wow. Going back to memory lane, that was when I was in college. I was still back in China back then. I remember computer was such a new thing in China, and it's super expensive. With my parents' very modest income, I just couldn't afford to buy one that is, fully assembled. What I ended up doing was, with some help of the friends who have computer science as their major, we bought a whole bunch of parts and we assembled a PC for me to use. And I was super, super excited back then. It's like this new shiny toy that was trying to figure out how now I get connected to all the things on the computer. And because of that computer, I was able to apply to the schools in the US, and that brought me on the journey to ended up to study in the US eventually.
Yeah, wonderful. And can you please share some of the best advice that you've received in life to help you get where you are today?
I remember that was when I was a child. I had this motto written on my desk. When there is a will, there is a way.
Yeah.
Always know what you want and give your best effort. You will get there one day.
Excellent advice. So, Wendy, what is your final message to the viewers and the readers?
The identity landscape is really going through a massive change. I would say this year is we're at an inflection point, right? We need to build upon where we came from in the past, all the good practice, good lessons we've learned. We're opening up a new chapter with the new varieties of identity types, whether it's human, non-human, digital identities, machines, bots, right? We need to really make sure that we manage these new identities properly. And then not only just that, we need to put identity context into the business environment. That will make sure your business can get accelerated much faster. We need to put identity context into the security context. When you combine identity and security data together, then you have really unlocked a ton of new power that allow you to make much more precise decisions, make real-time decisions that will be super beneficial to the business and help you manage all the risks that you're facing.
Well, Wendy Wu, Chief Marketing Officer of SailPoint, thank you so much for taking time on the sidelines of SailPoint Navigate in Sydney, and I wish you the best for the rest of the conference.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.